Hey everybody, welcome back to the Small Talk Podcast. We're Rich and Lisa Small, married with children and grandchildren. We are also real estate agents, co-hosts of the TV series Negotiators Lux, musicians, and future Airbnb host.
Every second Wednesday of each month on this podcast, we bring to you an element of real estate. And because real estate has so many different facets, we have something for everyone. It's true that real estate is one of the most talked about ways to invest. It's surely a subject worth delving into for everyone.
On other days, you'll find us talking about life, and with that, there's no limit to what we talk about. Just don't be offended if you disagree.
Want to be a guest on our show? Call or text us at 610-764-1371. Hey, thanks for listening, and may our time together be blessed.
Hey, welcome. Happy Wednesday. And I do believe today is a Hallmark holiday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day.
So anyway, we welcome you all. And it's already starting to be an exciting podcast because we did have that was Brennan. She says hi. We already did have some excitement to start the podcast with technical difficulties, but you know what? It's like rain in a storm. Once it passes, everything clears up. So let's get to our guest because we are excited. We have a young man who has, I'm just going to describe, we had a meeting with him not long ago, and I would describe him as passionate about what he does.
Yes, very.
And as are we, and I think that we kind of had to agree to end our last conversation because it probably wouldn't have. And with that in mind, we're going to introduce Jude Brennan from American Financial Network.
Or AFN, as they call it. We're going to talk about investment properties, financing for investment properties, and whatever else you want to talk about in the field of mortgages.
Sounds great. Well, so excited to be here. Lisa and Rich, thanks so much for having me on. I'm very excited to be on your podcast and looking forward to the conversation and seeing how we can help home buyers and real estate investors. And as you mentioned, I am passionate about this. I've been doing this for about 22 years. And so like you said, happy Valentine's Day. As well. It's an exciting day. For me, I'm a Catholic Christian. It's also Ash Wednesday. So for anyone who else out there is Catholic, it's our first day of Lent. So it's an exciting Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday on the same day. I don't think that's ever happened before, but very, very exciting stuff. So I'm excited to be here. And
we're excited to have you on. Why don't you, Jude, give us your name, your title, company, your phone number, email, website, whatever information you want to give, so people have that now, and then we'll do that again later.
Good idea.
Let's start with that.
Perfect. That sounds great, Lisa. Sure. My name is Jude Brennan, and my company's name is American Financial Network. We go by AFN, so most people know us by AFN, but it is American Financial Network. My phone number is 215-450-1633, 215-450-1633. You can use that to text me anytime, or you can call. And I think that's probably the best way, because that way I can then send you my other contact information, website, and email. It'll be easier that way. But and was there something else you wanted me to?
And you're the area manager.
Yes, I'm an area manager for American Financial Network. Yes.
So what does area manager mean? Like, what is that?
Sure. So I run a team here at American Financial Network. So I manage an area of people at American Financial Network. I've been here at the company probably, I think, 9 years now. So I've been here for quite some time. A lot of people in our industry, mortgage or real estate, kind of jump around a little bit, but I've been with American Financial Network for a lot of reasons, and to kind of go into what Rich was asking as well. I've been here for a long time because of the company and the company culture and how we run the organization. It's a great place. It's a team environment. We're a sizable organization. Like I said, we close billions each year, but it's really a team approach, and you have that team feel when you are working with us. I personally can call the CEO of the company. I can call the VP of operations, morning, noon, night. So it's first name basis, texting. I know them personally. So, I can, at any stage of the loan process, the buying process, if I had to get someone on the phone, there's no red tape. So that really is
Yeah.
a big advantage.
Very glad you brought that point out, because as real estate agents, of course, we realize that your timing is everything in a real estate deal, for example. And sometimes you need an answer immediately or yesterday. And if you don't have access and you can't solve a problem, it could blow the deal. So without going into detail, that has happened. So having someone that's in a position to get answers like you are from whomever in your company is going to help you, that's a big deal. I can't even emphasize it enough.
The biggest part of a home buying process is getting your borrower and buyer through smoothly from start to finish. That really is what, at the end of the day, when it closes, the buyer in their mind is like, wow, thank you. That really went through smoothly. Or it could be a nightmare with the wrong company where you might have got them through to the closing, but they're not really feeling great at the end because it was so rough. There were so many bumps in the road. There were so many different things they had to resend over and over. So it really is important. It's a team approach, and it's all about the relationship. When you're dealing with a buyer, that's really what's important.
A lot of times people don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They have no idea all the footwork, all the technical stuff that's going on, all the fires that we're putting out. And when they don't know, when our clients don't know, that's a good thing. When Rich and I say to a buyer, we would prefer you to use someone on our preferred list because we know them. We know they're going to not just get the job done and get you to settlement, which is the goal, but they're also going to do it in an efficient manner, and it's going to be a smooth transaction. Bar any unforeseen things that can happen.
Well, first of all, a lot of home buyers don't realize how much goes into, like what you were saying, Lisa, on the back end. Buyers don't really see all of the intricacies of the mortgage process.
Right.
There are so many moving parts. If they knew, they would be overwhelmed.
Yes.
Like, our job is crazy. Like, there's so many little things that go on the back end, things that are checked out, things that are looked at, things that are processed, the ordering, the title, the appraisal. There's so much. They would be overwhelmed, right? And if you're not working with the right person, that's where the headaches and the hassles come in, because they don't know what to look at for up front. What we do is we're super thorough up front. We spend a lot of time with our buyers, our borrowers up front, to make sure that everything looks good before you even go under contract, before you even get into underwriting.
That's right.
Like a year before, we're getting people pre-approved because we want to make sure that they are in line. But to talk about one thing, for example, you mentioned dealing with the right lender, and then sometimes things do pop up. I'll give you an example. We have a closing that's happening. It's actually happening right now. Normally I go to all my closings, but this live podcast, the closing got changed to 2 p.m. today.
My gosh.
So I had to explain. I have a live podcast going on, and they completely understood. It was supposed to happen 2 days ago. It got moved to today. 2 p.m. was the only time they can close, right? But anyway, so there's a closing that's happening today, and that experience for them before they came to me was a nightmare. They basically were buying a condo. They found out in the middle that the condo had this huge assessment, millions of dollars of assessment, and each unit was going to be assessed $16,000 and so forth. So the condo did not meet Fannie Mae guidelines, right?
Wow.
So, and there's like 90 units in here, so no one can get them financing in there, right? So, but they didn't find out until like 4 days before closing.
Oh
It
my
was supposed to
goodness.
close on a Thursday. I got a call on a Monday from one of my loan officer people that refer me business because
Mhm.
things that she cannot do, she sends them to me, right?
Mhm.
So this is one of those clients that she had to call me up 4 days before the closing. She's like, "This is supposed to close Thursday," for my help, and you know, it's just an example. They should have caught that, at the very beginning, but for some reason they dragged this person through the mud, and 4 days before closing, it completely blew up on them. So
Oh.
they sent it to me. I got the borrower on the phone, and she was just distraught. She was ready to,
Oh.
back out. But we took it, and then I explained to her everything up front, what was wrong with the condo. She didn't even know what was wrong with the condo. I explained to her exactly why it didn't meet Fannie Mae guidelines. Here's the reason why. Because of the critical nature of the repairs and the assessment and so forth. And she was like, "Jude, thank you." Nobody explained that to me. But so we got that, and we moved her through the process, explained to her everything, was super thorough. She still had to send me a few things that we needed that she didn't even send the other lender, which they probably would have asked for anyway. But we moved her through the process smoothly, and we closed that within 10 days, actually. So from the
Wow.
time I got it, it's now closing tomorrow. But we could, that's an example of a couple things of, just communicating with your borrower, explaining to them, making them feel good about the process, making them, giving them all the information that they need so they understand what the process looks like. They don't need to
Mhm.
know everything, but they knew that, the critical nature of what they needed to do to move them through. And that's what our team does. And she even said to me, I just want to get this done tomorrow, and I'm sure I'm going to be calling you to thank you. She's like, "Don't worry about coming. You explained everything to me. You went over the closing
Oh.
disclosure, you know." So I'm probably going to get a call, after this podcast with a big thank you, which is what we all love that. So
Yes.
that piece of it, but then also, we as a company and my team, we can do things that other banks can't do. Like, this condo is non-warrantable, meaning it can't meet Fannie Mae guidelines,
Mhm.
but I have access to our investors that can do non-warrantable condos. And not everybody has that. So we're a direct lender, American Financial Network, AFN, we're a direct lender. So everything's done in-house. We also have access, if we needed to broker out our loans to hundreds of wholesale lenders, if we needed to. So for like out of the box things like this that don't meet Fannie Mae guidelines. So we actually closed this with one of our investor partners,
Nice.
one of our lenders that, and that's why we got the call. So this was not an in-house loan, just to give you an example. 98% of the loans we do are in-house, but this was with one of our lender partners.
All right, so let's get into investing, financing for investors. So take it away.
All right. Sounds good.
Where do you want to start?
What I'll do is just kind of touch base a little bit about what's required or, for investing and kind of what that looks like. And then I want to talk a little bit about what kind of programs are there for real estate investors.
Great.
So real estate investing is exciting.
Yes.
People in the real estate industry. I'm sometimes amazed that some real estate agents and people in the industry, mortgage people, don't have real estate. They don't own real estate. It kind of is mind-boggling to me sometimes, right? Because real estate is historically, the safest investment. If you
Yes.
look at the numbers, there is appreciation every year. I mean, you have a couple blips in there, but for the most part, if you look at the chart historically, real estate appreciates every single year. I mean, you had 2007, 2008, that was kind of an anomaly. Everything kind of blew up, but soon after that, it started cranking back up, So, I mean, this past few years, one year we had 19% appreciation. That's not normal.
Right.
But it's still projected, if you listen to the analysts, they're still projecting appreciation every year, right? They're projecting appreciation this year. And, if you look at the These are kind of just reasons why you might want to take a look at investing in real estate, right? If you look at where the data right now, sometimes you have the media talking negative about the market's going to bust. Real estate is not safe. You got to rent.
Yeah, don't go
but
on
it's
YouTube.
no, it's always doom
That's
and
all they
gloom.
talk about.
Yeah, well, because that's what sells.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, quite frankly, we're all knuckleheads because we listen to the media. All of us,
Right.
myself included. You know what I mean? But sometimes you got to back up and like, okay, let's look at some data, right?
Right.
So if you
Yeah.
take that out of the equation and you look at the data, because you have, you've heard this before. You're like, hey, should I wait this out? Should I wait another year to buy? Are we in for a burst in the real estate market? But if you back up and take a look at the data, you have a couple things going on there. You have the millennials, which are bigger than the baby boomers, right? And the data you look at when you're looking at real estate and appreciation, how stable the market is, part of the data you look at is household formations, right? So right now, the millennials are at the peak or at the point they're all forming households, right? Right. It's all household formations right now. They're at the age where they're forming households. They're ready to buy, right? And then the other piece of the data you're looking at is the inventory. So you have how many households are being formed, and you have where's the inventory, real estate inventory. So right now you have, if you're looking at a bar chart, the bar for the millennials forming households are super high, and you have inventory very low, right? So that's kind of like a supply and demand feature, fact right there, the supply and demand data right there. So that piece alone is kind of pointing to that the real estate market's going to remain stable, and not only stable right now, but for years because of the millennials. Even if you had inventory kind of push up, which we all want inventory to crank up a little bit, but even if it did crank up, it's not going to be doubling in the next year or in the next few years. But even if it went up a little bit, you still have big supply, big demand for real estate, right? And low supply, right? So that piece of data it just kind of gives a real estate investor or someone who's thinking about investing in real estate a little bit of data so they can make a decision on, hey, it is a good time to buy. It really is, because you're going to continue to have appreciation, right? So I just wanted to kind of point that out, because that's important. Because you have real estate investors who want to invest in real estate. These are newbies, right? Who haven't invested in anything. They want to invest, but they're listening to the media. They're listening to other people that really aren't talking data. They're just talking because they like to hear themselves talk, quite frankly. But they're not looking at quality data, right? So that should give someone a little bit of a comfort level that, hey, I'm interested. Let me start looking, right? And then you have your seasoned investors who have been doing this a long time, right? Investing is really all about the numbers, right? I think we talked about that earlier. When you're buying for a primary residence, it's about the numbers you can afford, and when you're buying real estate, it's about the numbers. So that when you invest in that, if you're doing renovations and you're looking to fix it up and flip it, or fix it up and rent it out, you need to make sure the numbers work so that you don't lose your shirt, right?
Exactly.
So you need someone seasoned. You need a team of people around you that are seasoned. That's really a key phrase, a key word that you used before, is seasoned.
Yeah.
Someone like yourself, real estate team who knows the market, who can look at the data, the comps in the area, and then you need a seasoned finance person that can also help you to look at the data and make sure the numbers work, because it's all about how you buy when you're buying real estate, right? It's not even it's even more important than when you're selling. So it's all about how you buy. That number that you buy at is super important. So at the beginning, you want to look at the numbers, right? You find a house you like, Rich and Lisa, you have a real estate investor. You're going to start showing them homes, showing them things that pop up on the MLS, maybe things even off the MLS that you find, and someone's interested. The next thing is they need to look at the numbers. What do these numbers look like? Here's the purchase price. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about renovation piece of it. So you have real estate investors that buy real estate that are going to put money into to fix it up, and they're going to either flip it or they're going to hold it. So it's either a buy and hold, buy, renovate, hold, or a buy, renovate, flip. You can also buy stuff turnkey, but let's talk just, right now about kind of renovation, right? So it's about the numbers, purchase price, and you need to figure out what the renovation cost would be. And then you need to know the after repair value. Those are the key things you need to know. Purchase price plus renovation costs plus what can I sell this for, or what can I refinance this for after the fact, right?
Right.
What's the value going to be after I repair? And so that's where, a small team comes in place is you need to you find them the right properties and you help them find the true comps in the area, right? Because some real estate investors, when they're starting out, they don't have a team like yourself that can give them true comps, comparable properties, right? And they go on Zillow and they just kind of look and they think, oh, this property looks great, but you're not going to get the data you need from Zillow in terms of true sales, true comparable properties in the area. And so that person might be looking at the wrong data, the wrong numbers, so that they can lose their shirt, right? So they got the purchase price, renovation, after repair. So the after repair value, those comps are critical. And so that's why your team is so important, is you can get them those accurate, comparable properties, right?
Yep.
And then in terms of the financing side, financing for a fix and flip or a fix or buy, renovate, and refinance is, the financing is important on that. You can buy cash, but most people don't have cash. And even people that do have cash, there's a lot of data that will point to not to spend your own cash, because you could use your cash to buy 3 properties instead of 1 property, right? Some people will just buy a property and put cash down and they bought the property, but they could actually take that cash and split it up and for 3 down payments for 3 properties. And then they're building wealth that way, right? We do seminars on things like that, for people that have a lot of money that are they want to put all this cash into buying a home. We kind of show them that, hey, it might not make sense to do that. Here's the reason why. You take some of your money, you could buy 3 properties, and here's the equity you would building, the appreciation, and then here's the wealth over 5-10 years, by leveraging, by getting financing rather than putting money down cash. So financing for this type of scenario, we have a couple different options for that. We have a traditional option, which would be, so again, this is for someone who's buying, renovating, either flipping, or they're going to refinance. They're going to rent it out, right? So we have a few different options. The traditional option is we can do a full income verification loan, where we would verify their income and we would get them a renovation loan to purchase the home, money for renovation, and then they're purchasing the home that way. And those products there's an FHA 203K, it's called. That is a renovation product. That's full income documentation. And then there's also a conventional renovation product that we have as well. So you can go FHA or you can go conventional. These are full income verification. You have to have a certain credit score. You have to have a certain amount of assets. It's a little bit more of a cumbersome process than the next option that I'm going to kind of go over with you. But it is a great option. It really is. The rates are lower. As long as you're okay with going through the process, finding a contractor that is good to work with a 203K loan or a conventional loan, it's a great option to start out with. And some people will do one of those and they'll move on to the next program, which I'm going to talk to you about in a second here. But that is a great option. FHA 203Ks and a conventional renovation loan. So we can help with both of those. All right.
So is the conventional one the home style still?
It is. It's the home style. Correct.
Okay. Now, the 203K, isn't that only for owner occupied?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. So that's also a piece of it. So the 203K is just for it is just for primary residence. Okay. The Fannie Mae home style is more geared towards the real estate investor or for primary residence, right?
Okay.
Because some people will actually.
That's limited for investors to 1 unit, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. Do they have, just on a side note, are there any like say somebody wanted to get a duplex or triplex or quad? Are there any renovation programs for something like that for
It's a
investors?
great question. Great question, and that segues into the next product, which I was going to talk to you about. Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, but that is a good point. The FHA 2 or 3K is just for primary residence. But what a lot of people do is they will do that, and after a year, they exit, and that becomes an investment property. So a lot of people use that as their first quote investment property. They'll live in it for a year, and with FHA, you have to live in it for at least a year, and then you can move on from there, and that becomes an investment property.
We have a name for people that do that. Well, not we, but there really is. They're called house hackers.
House hackers, yes. That is the new buzzword, yes.
Yes.
House hackers.
I love it. I think that is such a great idea. We have one. We have a client that actually is a house hacker.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I love it.
So that's house hacking. So if you go in the real estate investment community, that's what it is called. You know, you'll have someone say, "Hey, did you do a house? Why don't you do a house hack?" I'm like, "What's that?" We're like, "That sounds a little crazy."
It does.
Yeah, that is the buzzword, house hacking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people in the real estate investment community do know about that. Yeah. So you start off with an FHA loan, you house hack, and then you kind of move on. Yes.
Yeah.
This really reminds me of, I don't know how many conversations I've had with people that want to start real estate investing.
Right.
I've lost count over the years. Where do I start? How do I start? And I think I just listened very carefully to, I even wrote down some of the things you said, so I can share this with others. But it sounds like, what you can offer, you can offer to the seasoned investor, but you have a lot to offer a new investor. And probably the most important thing is just the experience that you have about how even how to evaluate a property financially. Like you said, you look at the data, and a lot of people don't know where to start, who to start with, what to do. All they know is they have a desire to get started. So now I'm seeing this in a different light, because I never really heard anybody talk in such a comprehensive way about the process like you seem to be talking about it. And I wouldn't have any reservation about recommending a new investor to you. Along those lines, we can see that you're going to take a lot of the fear away that goes into this.
Rich, that is such a great point. It really is, because there's a lot of fear there for new investors, right? To kind of hop into this, and you need someone that understands the process, the pitfalls, what works, what doesn't work, and that's the fear that people have. Okay, I don't want to lose, a lot of money here. I don't want to get in here and make a huge mistake, right? So I have a lot of we'll just call them deals that are presented to me that I help them evaluate. We'll look at the numbers together, and that's a big piece of why people send me business in terms of the real estate. I mean, obviously, I do primary residences and first-time home buyers and all, but we're talking about real estate investment. A lot of people send me their clients, or they come to me because of that, because I can help them and walk them through and show them, this is what it looks like. And I mean, I'll get clients that I'll say, hey, this one really doesn't look great. You might want to pass on this one. You know what I mean? Or, they're pretty set on it, and I might find something. All right, did you look at this? And they're like, no, that's a good point. That might put me way over budget or something. And that's really critical. You have a second set of eyes looking at, worst case, you have a second set of eyes looking at what you're doing and saying, yeah, it looks great. Or, hey, here's something you might have missed. And you also have someone new who will walk you through the entire process. Because it is a lot more simple than people think, in terms of there's not that many pieces to it, but you just need to get the pieces right. Otherwise you can get messed up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, you're basically just finding a house, figuring out what the renovation costs are and figuring out what the after repair value is.
Right.
So it's not that difficult, but you got to get the pieces right, and you got to make sure that the numbers work. Otherwise, you're in trouble, right? And then you need the financing piece of it. That also done right, because that can also blow up on you pretty big.
That's right. And the other thing is, with the difference between buying a home you're going to live in and buying a real estate investment property, is the difference between the emotional part of it. When you're buying a house that you're going to live in, you walk in there and it's a feel. Oh, this is where I want to be. This is my home. That's not how it is on an investment property. There is no emotion. You have no emotional attachment, or you shouldn't have an emotional attachment. And it's just about really the numbers and will it work or not. That's an important mindset as an investor.
No, you're 100% right. That is the difference. You're buying a house, primary residence. You marry that house. You're buying an investment property. You got to take that emotion out. You're buying a primary residence because it feels good. It's going to be your home. You're going to wake up and be excited about being there. And that's, I had so many conversations with real estate investors explaining that to them. I'm like, John, you got to take a step back, right?
Right.
You don't need to do X, Y, and Z in this property. That's $20,000 more than you really need to spend on this, on this renovation. Don't get me wrong. You want to do the right renovation, but you don't need to spend 20 grand more. You're not living in this property, right? You got to back up. You take the emotion out of this.
Right.
You're not buying this to live in it. You're buying it as an investment, right? You do quality work, but you're not putting stuff that trimming and all different things in that house as if you were going to live there. You don't need to, right? Because it's just going to get, if you're renting it out, it's going to get beat up anyway, right? And then you just blew a lot of money, right? And you're over budget. And then the after repair value comes in 10 grand lower, and then you're really over budget. You know what I mean? So it's a very good point. You got to take the emotions out. It's all about the numbers. That's why I started off with that. It's all about the numbers. It really is.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So no, that's a
very good point.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. I'm glad you brought that up, for sure.
It might be a good time to reiterate your information for our listeners, because maybe they have a pen in hand. They want to write down your contact information.
Sure. Again, it's Jude Brennan, American Financial Network, or we go by AFN. And my direct number, my cell phone, is 215-450-1633. 215-450-1633. You can call me, text me anytime. Be happy to help you, walk you through the process.
The difference between when you're buying a home for yourself to live in and an investment property, what's the difference between the down payments? Because that's something that a lot of people, they say, oh yeah, I want to invest in real estate. Okay, but they don't realize the down payment is a lot higher for an investment property. Or do you have any programs that maybe are not as high of a down payment?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question. And obviously people want to know, how much money do I need to buy? And so if you're looking at, well, first of all, the FHA we talked about, the house hacking, it's still 3.5%, so you could still buy a property with 3.5% down, right? You got to live in it for a year before you do anything. Conventional, you could still, put 5-10% down on the property. But the next product I'm going to talk about is a little bit different, right?
Okay.
So most real estate investors, they might do one FHA, conventional, and then they're like, all right, I've had enough, or they can't buy any more of those, or they can't use those products anymore because maybe they have too many houses, too many loans. So the next product is more, it's non-traditional, right? And it's not as much down as people would think, but it looks completely different, right? It's very, very different product. So in terms of the renovation piece of it, we're still talking about that. the financing that I can do for people is based off of their experience. Number one, we can still, a lot of places cannot use this product for someone who has no experience, right? So if you're looking to buy and renovate a property, it's based off of how many flips or how many properties you bought and renovated and refinanced, right?
Okay.
The more that you have, the better terms you get, right?
Yeah.
So typically how it works is you'll have the purchase price and you'll have the renovation costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the combination is your all-in cost, right? We can lend a certain percent of the purchase price and 100% of the renovation costs, right? So it's
Wow.
not as much as you think, right? So if you're buying a property for, purchase price is 100,000, we'll just use that as a round number.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be anywhere from 25. Well, we'll just say 75 LTV to an 87.5 LTV.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
anywhere from 13% down just on the purchase price to 25%. Depends on the property and so forth. So what we do is we do an evaluation, say, hey, here's what you'd be looking at on this particular property. And then it's 100% of the renovation cost. So it's really not that much.
Okay.
Right?
So explain what LTV is for our listeners.
Sure. So loan to value, right? So it's your loan amount to the value of the property, right?
Yep.
So if we're just looking at it's a little bit different with this type of loan. So it's the LTV I'm talking about is just based on the purchase price. So we'll just say you're putting anywhere from 13% down of the purchase price to 25% down of the purchase price,
Okay.
right? So if your purchase price is 100,000, your renovation cost is 50,000. That's 150 all in, right?
Okay.
But you're putting down just based off of that purchase price, right?
That's
so
great.
It's just based off of the 100,000. So it's anywhere from 13% to 25% just of the purchase price, and then we're going to finance 100% of the renovation cost, right? So basically, we would take how to figure out the loan amount would be, if your purchase price, say you're putting 20% down of the purchase price, so your loan amount would be 80,000 because you're buying a $100,000 house. So the loan amount would be 80,000 plus the renovation cost. So 80,000 plus the 50,000, that would become your loan amount. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's one product which most people can't do that. This type of loan.
And is
most
that
people
for
most people don't know
investors?
how to do it. This is strictly for investors. Yes. So this type of loan is strictly for investors.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
In most cases, someone would set up an LLC in this situation.
Okay.
So they set up a little business, which could take you 10 minutes online, and you have a business. It's really, really simple to do. Cost you $100, right? And this loan is going to close in an LLC. So this is a true investment, and it's easy to do. I do plenty of these for first-time investors, right? First-time renovation investors, right?
That's great.
So that's a great product that we can help people out with.
Definitely.
The rates and stuff are completely different. They're interest only because this is a short-term loan. It's a 13-month term, pretty much.
Okay.
You can have extensions on it as well, but obviously, because if you're doing renovation, if you're in it for more than 6 months, then something's going wrong with that renovation, right? So you don't need 13 months. People want to get in and out in 2 months. You know what I mean? So it's a short-term loan. You're paying interest only. You're not paying fully amortized. So the payments low, lower than if it was fully amortized. And then so you're in and out of those loans, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic loan for a real estate investor. The the buy and hold people will buy, renovate, rent it out. Then we refinance them into a 30-year loan. So we'll give them the initial renovation loan, short-term loan, then we refinance them into a 30-year loan. That's the step, right?
Nice.
So that's why, they come to you for your expertise in finding the comps, because it's all about the comps,
Yes.
the comparable properties. What is this house going to be worth after it's renovated. If you get that number wrong, then your numbers are off, right?
That's
So
right.
that's
And
why
it's important to think like an appraiser in that sense. Not that we are appraisers, but that's one thing that I always think about is when I'm looking up comps and I'm trying to price a property, I always think, is an appraiser going to be able to support this amount with the comps out there?
Right.
That's one thing that is forefront when I'm doing this, because if an appraiser cannot support the value, then you're up a creek. So it's very, very important to have, someone.
Or you need a lot of money down.
Well, yeah. But that is very important. That's key.
That's definitely a key phrase you said there. It really is. It makes all the difference. And that's the mindset, an expert has. That's not the mindset that, a junior real estate agent who's just starting out, or, mortgage person that hasn't done many of these or any of these. They don't think that way, but that is key. That's exactly how you have to think. What is this going to appraise for, right?
Right.
You got to look at those comps and make sure they are true comparable properties, that an appraiser could use. And so you know what you're doing. That's, your team is definitely the type of team that real estate investors want to talk to.
Because you don't want, if you do it too high, then you're not serving your clients' needs. And sometimes, of course, clients want you to go higher. And then, like you say, you have to talk them off the ledge after it doesn't sell for a month and a half because they're asking too much money for it. And of course, this market's different now. You don't want to go too low either. You don't want to leave money on the table. Although in this market, there's always,
multiple offers.
So
you're not really going to.
So there's not much risk right now of that happening. But you're right. That's something that is not really recognized or talked about very much. But, well, let's put it this way. When you get it right, nobody notices.
Yeah. When you get it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
When you get it wrong, everybody notices. No one's happy. Yeah, it really is. It makes all the difference for sure.
Yeah. And I love working with investors. We've done real estate investing ourselves. So it is also fun to see investors, especially new investors, become investors. And actually, I have to say this. Everyone who buys real estate, whether they live in the property or rent it or flip it, is a real estate investor.
Right.
Everybody is. So, but when you're doing it for, profit and you're looking to rent or flip, those investors, it's so much fun seeing somebody become a new investor and have their first transaction go through like that.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yes.
It is because they're very excited about it. They're like, wow, I really did this. The first time they do it, like, wow, I really did this, and I have a property, and then they want to buy another one. Because they're like, I can do this. This is great, and they're building wealth by doing that.
Yes.
So it is exciting. It's different, like you're saying. It's different than a first time home buyer, but it is such a great experience as well.
And anyone can do it. Anyone can invest in real estate. But like you said earlier, Jude, be prepared. It's about preparing. And the sooner, like I think we talked on the phone earlier this morning before the podcast, and you were saying it's never too early to get pre-approved. There's lots of factors that go into a pre-approval, and you want to get that all worked out ahead of time so that when you're ready to make that offer, you are prepared. Especially like we said in this day and age where there's not a lot of properties on the market and you're in competition with a lot of investors or a lot of buyers. So
yeah, no, you're 100% right, Lisa. Well, first of all, anybody, like you said, anybody can buy real estate if they have the right team around them, right? That's really important.
Yeah, that's true too.
And you are so right. I tell everyone this: my primary job is to get you ready. is to make
Yeah.
sure that you are ready, whether you are a first-time home buyer buying a primary residence or you are a real estate investor. It's all about being ready, because the people that are not ready, they're missing out on houses. The person that has to get, they look at this house, they want to put an offer in, but then they need to take a few days to get financing in order or pre-approval or go back and think about the numbers again. They just missed that property. And so let's get you ready. Like you said,
Yes.
I always tell people, are you looking to purchase? Are you still looking to purchase sometime this year? Because 12 months to 18 months out, if you're thinking about buying a house in that time frame, you want to start now, not a month before, not 3 months before. You want to be ready. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or you're a real estate investor, the people that are getting their offers accepted are the ones that were ready, that can move fast. Especially for real estate investors, you need to move fast.
Yes.
You see a property, you got to move on that quick, because there's going to be other offers coming pretty soon. So my job is to make sure you know your numbers, right? So if you're buying a primary residence, you go and see a house with Lisa and Rich, and you already know your numbers. You're thinking to yourself, well, Jude already went over these numbers. I know I can put an offer on this house because I already know my numbers. I know, what my monthly payment's going to be, what range it's going to be in based on this offer, and how much money I'm going to need to put down. I'm comfortable with turnkeys. Obviously, it's a little different than, you're buying, renovating, and either flipping or refinancing. You're looking at a property. I mean, typically when you're buying a property to renovate, it's undervalued because you're going to put value into it and then refinance it, and you're going to have a new value after you put your value into it. You have a new value. Turnkey, obviously, you're finding a property that is either already renovated and it's at market value, or it's in good shape. So obviously, if you could find a turnkey property that's a little undervalued, that's great. Most of the time, you're not going to find it undervalued. It's going to be at market value. So it's really about the numbers. It's about the cash flow that you have in that property. What's the rental income, right?
Right.
And then rental income in relation to what your mortgage payment is, and anything above that is your cash flow, right?
Yes.
So those are the type of properties you're looking for. Property that cash flows, right? And so we can do a couple different avenues in terms of finance for that. We can go conventional, traditional route where you're verifying your income and you can qualify and cover that mortgage. If you have a primary residence, your income covers the primary residence mortgage and the investment property mortgage. We can use the lease to offset that mortgage payment,
Right.
To qualify you. Once you get to a certain point, you're not going to be able to use the conventional anymore. We have to go to what most real estate investors are using, one of our other products, which is based solely on the rental income that's in that property or that will be in that property. We're looking at the debt service coverage ratio, right? So it has to debt service. And what that means really is, does the rental income cover your mortgage payment, right? And or at what percent is it covering or not covering, right? So like a 1.0 debt service ratio would mean your rental income is exactly the same amount as your mortgage payment, right? So we're not with these programs, we're not looking at any personal or business income. We're just looking at the asset and the rental income in that asset, and we're getting you qualified and giving you a loan based off of that.
So do they require the landlord to have been a landlord for 2 years, like that seasoning requirement, or can that be someone who's just starting out?
You don't have to necessarily have that experience.
Okay.
You do want to see, we could do first time investors with that product to answer that question.
Okay.
Yeah. Another avenue for real estate investors is short-term rentals, and people are making, very good revenue from the short-term rental.
Real estate investing has so many facets to it. There's so many different ways that you can use properties for investment purposes.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah, there is, especially nowadays, with the short-term rental income, the Airbnb and other, VRBOs and all those.
Exactly.
Things have kind of changed a lot for that. There's a lot of different ways to buy properties and make money with properties. There really is. It's exciting, and you get excited because you realize, wow, I can do this.
That's right.
I have someone that's going to walk me through it step by step.
Yeah, I mean, people just need a team, like you said, a team that can just say, okay, you're ready to go. We have you qualified. You're ready to go. And here, all you have to do is follow our lead and have confidence in us that we know what we're doing and we'll get it done for you.
I think at this point we can encourage our listeners to reach out to either of us with any questions they may have.
Yeah.
And when we do a second podcast together, maybe we can take some time to answer some of the questions.
Yes.
So along those lines, why don't you give them our contact information?
Rich and Lisa Small, 610-764-1371. And our email is richsmallteam@gmail.com. So we would love to hear from you. Jude would love to hear from you. We would love to help you either purchase your first property, your 50th property, and anywhere in between, whether it's for yourself to live in or an investment property.
We're here because we love helping first-time home buyers and real estate investors, and we are certainly the teams. If you surround yourself with, you're going to do well, and it's going to be a great experience for you. We have the expertise, first-time home buyers and real estate investors, and it's really just about being ready. And that's what our primary job is to get you ready and then make this a smooth transaction for you. So I look forward to hearing from you. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for being on here with us, and we will have you on again.
Sounds great. Great hanging out with you as well.
Thanks again for listening and being part of our Small Talk podcast. We hope you enjoy each and every episode as much as we do. Want to be a guest on our show? Call or text us at 610-764-1371.
And if you haven't already, please help us out by subscribing to this podcast and listening in. We want to reach as many people as possible. Until next time.